If you can imagine yourself doing anything else professionally and being happy and fulfilled, I would do that.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Career Flipper podcast. I'm your career flipping and furniture flipping host, Jenny Dempsey. Today, you're going to meet Lisa Chensvold, based in Washington, D.C. Her story is really about walking away from the path that you thought you were supposed to be on. She started out studying musicology. Yep, she is a classically trained soprano. No, she didn't sing on this episode, maybe next time around, but she spent years immersed in the world of academia. But after earning 2 humanities degrees and getting most of the way through a PhD, she just realized something wasn't clicking and she didn't want to stay on this path anymore. Today, she is the Principal of Chensvold Communications, where she partners with mission-driven leaders and organizations to solve complex communications challenges. So it might mean things like helping a new CEO define their voice, or aligning a team around a shared message, clarifying a brand, or, I don't know, rethinking how an entire company communicates from the inside out. She really believes that clear, thoughtful communication isn't just nice to have, it's like a leadership skill. It is a leadership skill, and it's how strategy actually shows up in the real world. And what I love most about her story is that she owns her background. Her training in humanities gave her this ability to think critically and really connect dots that most people don't even see, especially around things like transferable skills. And in our chat, we talk about what it felt like to walk away from academia, how she built a business from the ground up and literally just started, and what it means to really flip your perspective, not just your career. And of course, we get into the fear, the leap, the can I really do this questions, because they're always a part of the journey, right? So if you've ever felt like you wanted to pivot, but you weren't sure how your past experience fits into a new path, Lisa's story might give you a lot to think about. Let's get into it now. Okay, Lisa, when was it last year that we chatted? Because, it was definitely toward the end of the year, but you were right at kind of this decision-making point. And here we are now in 2025. You've made the leap, and we'll get into all of that. But this is so fun to reconnect. Welcome to the Career Flipper, Lisa.
Oh, thank you, Jenny. I'm so happy to be here. Yeah, I think it was maybe late September, early October when we connected via LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I was writing about my big career flip, but I was also planning my current career flip, which was to strike out on my own and start my own consulting business.
Ooh, yeah. And here you are. And now I'm just excited to go back further in time to where you began and kind of all the breadcrumbs that led you on the path. So Lisa, tell everybody who you are and where you are and what you are doing right now. And then we'll dive into all the fun with the career flip.
Okay. Yeah. My name is Lisa Chensvold, and I'm based in Washington, D.C. And I founded my own communications consulting firm, Chensvold Communications. And I specialize for now in working with social impact organizations, because I'm building this practice on 2 decades of doing PR, marketing, and comms for associations, nonprofits, and higher ed. So I'm really looking to partner with organizations that are trying to solve operational problems in comms, because nonprofit teams are small and they need help figuring out how to be efficient. Storytelling that cuts through all the noise, brand positioning, executive thought leadership. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing now.
Ooh, but how did this begin? Because you didn't start in communications and PR. You started somewhere very different. So let's get into it. Where did everything kick off for you in your career path, Lisa?
I have an undergraduate degree in music, and I have a long history of head and heart tension what my heart wants to do and what my head thinks I should do. This is a lifelong, I mean, going back to being a kid, I have struggled with this tension. And having gotten a music degree, I was trying to decide if I wanted to get a graduate degree in performance as a singer, because I'm a soprano, or if I wanted to go the academic, nerdy route and become a musicologist, which is a music scholar, essentially. And there is one career path for that, which is to get a PhD and become a professor. That's the only career option, really, for a musicologist. And I chose that at the end of the day after much agonizing. So yeah, I went to graduate school, got a master's degree in musicology, and was working on my PhD and did most of my PhD, except for finishing a dissertation, and spun my wheels for a long time and walked away from that PhD without knowing exactly what was going to be next. And then that's where the flip started, but it was a long process.
I bet. I bet. And going back to what you said, the head and the heart. So when you first made that decision, either to, lean into your beautiful soprano voice or to go the musicology route, was that a head or heart decision?
That's a good question. I think it was, ironically, at the time, because I was, I demonstrated some talent in musicology, and it felt like the safer option, right? Trying to have a career as an opera singer or a classical singer is really hard. It's very entrepreneurial, ironic for how where I am today. And being in academia, with a professor position felt safer. And it also felt like it fed my passion, my nerdiness, my passion for learning and reading deeply, but that I could also sing. But you can't really be a singer and be a, side musicologist. It doesn't really work. But the reverse does work. So I felt like I didn't have to give that up.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. And then when you made the decision to not, proceed with the rest of the PhD, was that a head or a heart decision?
That was a hard decision.
Mm-hmm.
That was a hard decision. And, it wasn't easy. And a lot of stuff was upended in my life that made it sort of easier to upend this part too. So I had lost my mom to cancer when I was just in my 20s. I had gotten married, but then we were splitting up. So, lost my mom, was moving away from where I was, with my husband, who was also an academic. And I was the, quote, faculty spouse in that scenario, even though I was also working on a PhD. And that was an uncomfortable kind of box to be put in or space to operate in. Yeah. And when we split up and I moved back to North Carolina at the time, I was still intending to finish my PhD for maybe 6 months or so after I had moved. And then I just was really questioning it. It wasn't sparking for me. I like to mentor and coach people, but classroom teaching is not exactly my environment that I thrive in. And to be honest with you, I don't remember who said it to me, but somebody said to me, if you can imagine yourself doing anything else professionally and being happy and fulfilled, I would do that. Because the academic route is hard, the jobs are few and far between, you might have to live somewhere you really don't want to live. It's the money's not good. Like it's a tough road. And if you stick with it if it's the only thing you can imagine you'd ever want to do. And that wasn't me.
So you had two significant losses. Your mom, you were still so young, you're in your 20s and you lose your mom. And then your marriage, you're no longer going to continue with that relationship. And so suddenly you have this moment where you're like, I have to listen to my heart, because you just it's like you lost your heart in these two instances. But listening to it was like tuning in with you, because you still have you. And so hearing you say that, it's just like, it's so pivotal how much grief can teach us about what and I hate to say it this way because I too have lost my mom and my dad, but like grief can teach us so much about what we do want in life, or losing and the grief from losing is what I mean. But so what was that like for you, Lisa, in that moment when you made that decision? Like, what did you do next? Like, how did you pay your bills? Like, how did you continue to think like, well, this is what I'm going to do now? Like, what was going on? Like yeah, how did you do
Yeah.
that?
It was, I'm trying to think when I first made the decision, I was working as, and this is actually what laid the path for me where I am now, but I was working as a temp
Mhm.
with in the infectious disease global health division at UNC, where I had been a graduate student in Chapel Hill, and that was just to pay the bills. And if I told you the my income that year that I got divorced,
Mhm.
it's pathetic. And how did you survive on that? Well, I made some bad decisions about how to like survive, right? So I was like, I have to just have something, like have a job and gives me some, benefits. And so I was able to turn that temp job into a full-time university employee. So I had the benefits and stuff, but that wasn't my path. That was just to give me some space to think about what I wanted. I was buying, I bought the book, Do What You Are. That's like based on your Myers-Briggs and what you should be doing. And, all this exploration about what was going to be next for me, while I'm also still like grieving a divorce, all that stuff is swirling around. I don't have any money. It was not a pretty time. And I spun my wheels in grad school for a while. So
Yeah.
felt kind of too old to be in this sort of position where other people who had a straight line path were already, a number of years into their career. So
Yeah.
it was difficult. And then telling people was hard. Telling my dad, telling, close family friends who'd known that decision and thinking that I was making a mistake, or like, you were so close, why didn't you just finish? Like, close was not really that close. I still had to pretty much write the whole, multi-hundred-page dissertation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was worried about being what people would think about me.
So what did they think when you did get the courage to share what you were doing? What were their responses? Did it mirror what you had in your mind? Did it like validate fears, or were they actually more supportive than you expected?
I would say initially, there's like my dad and a couple of family friends, it validated my fears.
Mm.
So there was disappointment there. Other friends were maybe worried for me, but supportive. Like, I don't know how this is going to go for you, but
Yeah.
this seems like the right decision. And even having just made the decision, the weight that it lifted. The other person I had to tell was my dissertation advisor, who I'd been working closely with. And, professors have some investment in their PhD students, and their success is a reflection of them. So if your student bails, I was just worried about that. It wasn't my problem.
Yeah.
That's it,
Right.
not my problem, but still it was in the mix. But, once I kind of started getting some traction with where I ultimately wanted to go, my dad has been very supportive and is my biggest fan and all of that. But yeah, but at the time it was not easy. I had, a couple years into this process, I had a boyfriend at the time who, both said, your parents shouldn't have let you study music.
Ooh. Okay. Why?
And, you think about now, right, that the higher ed, a college degree has absolutely become utilitarian. Like, it should be a degree that will get you a career. So that's much worse now, but it was present then too. Like, why did you get this, quote, useless degree? And then also, he was trying to sort of pigeonhole me because I was an assistant, an administrative assistant at the time, to say, like, why don't you rise in the administrative assistant profession? Which, no shame in that. That's a freaking hard job, especially at a high level for a high level executive. Not my natural career set, not where I wanted to go, but he was trying to propose this path for me that would let me, rise the ranks of administrative assistant. So yeah, there's some weird stuff at the time.
Yeah, and I'm just curious. I'm guessing that relationship didn't last that long.
No, it did not.
Yeah. So you made the pivot, you're sharing with people, their responses are just kind of like questioning, like, what are you doing? Like, whether what you did before to lead you to this decision by majoring in a particular thing, but also like, what are you doing with your career, and why would you leave something you put so much time and effort and money into? But you made the decision because your heart was leading you in that direction. You had this kind of quote unquote stable job that was helping you pay the bills. So what did you do at this point? Like, how did you kind of tap into, while the administrative assistant wasn't your really flow of work that you wanted to do, what led you into finding what was?
So I worked on a couple of different fronts. So one was, what am I good at? What is the transferable skill that I have gained over this time that I could pivot into a career? Yeah. And then on the other side, looking much more broadly, I thought about getting a degree in social work, like getting another degree and going a very different direction, a more professional school degree. And that gets to, I think, which is what we met over on LinkedIn, which is when I posted about this weird moment when I was in graduate school of going to a local Latin American Latino cultural festival where I was supposed to be writing about the music performances. I was supposed to find a performer and interview them and talk about it. This was for an ethnomusicology class, so non-Western music, folk musics. Yeah. And I just was completely drawn to the community health benefits booths that were at this cultural and arts festival for vaccinations and, diabetes screening and HIV testing and all of these things. And at the time, whatever, I was, I guess, naive, I suppose. I didn't understand what that role was at that festival. And so I'm proposing a paper that I write about this. And my professor's like, you're in a music class. What are you doing? That was an interesting moment where I just was clearly drawn to something very different from what I was supposed to be doing. Yeah. So, then here I am. So then here I am working at this infectious disease division as an administrative assistant. Yeah. So I'm working in that space with those folks, but I'm applying for editor jobs, technical writer jobs, because I can write like heck and I can edit and I can translate complex information because I had to talk about, how symphonies work for an audience, for students who don't know anything about classical music. So those are kind of my anchor skills. I was cleaning up just yesterday, my Google Drive, and I found all these old cover letters that I had written at that time when I was applying for jobs. Yeah. And that was a trip. Wow. Yeah. I could see I was trying so hard to make myself be marketable and to make it make sense. And I can see why it didn't really make sense for a lot of people. Yeah. And experimenting with my, put your ABD, all but dissertation degree on your resume, put your master's degree on there. Don't put them on there. Like, just how are people pigeonholing me, and how am I marketing myself in ways that aren't getting me anywhere? So I kind of abandoned the social work path, and I was really leaning into, I like to write. I'm good at writing. I'm good at editing. I'm good at expressing myself. I'm good at public speaking. And then I'm surrounded by all these researchers who are doing really important, global HIV, malaria, other kinds of research, and putting together their presentations for scientific conferences and helping them, edit their papers for a submission, and clearly demonstrating that I have skills beyond what I'm doing. They knew the transition that I was in.
Yeah.
And then they were launching a new institute as part of this group, so Global Health and Infectious Disease Institute. And I had helped with some press releases, I'd helped with some blogs, and I just was aggressive. And I said, you need to put me in here to help with the communications for this launch of this institute. And they put me in charge of the website, and I found mentors across campus in the medical school and other places who helped me with media pitching and taught me and said, they said, you have really good instincts. Here's what you need to know about the news cycle and how it works. And okay, you're ready to go talk to that New York Times reporter and set up that thing. So I had really good mentors, and I found that I could focus on my lifelong passion for there being more justice in the world and social issues. My mom and I would talk about these when I was growing up. The Latino festival and being drawn to the public health booths there. And so I really felt like I was doing work that was helping people tangibly and building this skill set, and I was having fun, and it was a very different pace, and I had to really teach myself how to undo all my academic writing tendencies, to write PR language, so that was kind of a learning curve that was kind of fun, to let go of all the trappings of academic writing and write in a more fun way. Yeah. And I managed to convince them that they should put me in that role, and then they promoted me into director, and I really learned on the job. And I have great respect for everyone who has a PR, comms, journalism, business marketing degree. My path was on the job learning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. There's so many things here that I want to point out, Lisa. First, the skill set. So this part stands out because I hear this so much from career flippers. And I sometimes refer to them as golden threads or breadcrumbs, but the fact that the things that you learned in school back in the day when you are helping you in a completely different realm. Because I think sometimes when people change or think about changing careers, it feels so daunting because they're like, well, I don't know this industry, or I don't know how to do this. But the thing is, when we stop and think, well, I do know how to do this because I learned it here, and that can be applied here, sometimes it helps us feel a little more confident. And when you said that, I was like, oh, yes, right there. You had these transferable skills that you were able to bring into this kind of new chapter. And then, the other thing that stands out so much that I just love, because I could just picture you in this office, and you're just hey, put me in charge of that. You asked, you took the initiative to just ask. You didn't necessarily feel like you had to prove yourself. You're just this is what I can bring to the table. And you asked. And I think right there, sometimes it's a matter of just asking and trying and learning through that experience. You don't have the certification. Okay. You don't have the degree, whatever it is, you're learning and you're doing it, and asking the questions or asking for the opportunity can sometimes get a no, but it can sometimes, a lot of times, get a yes. And I think that is kind of the scariest part. I mean, even sliding into DMs, I mean, even me reaching out to you through what I saw on that post of hey, I got this little podcast, and just asking and just asking. So that's I mean, I think that is so important to call it, and so awesome, because it led you down this new path. Had you not ever asked, could you imagine, if you never would have questioned the, executive assistant opportunity, and just kind of did what you were told to do, and hadn't asked, you'd be in a completely different place right now.
I would. And that, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I understood what those transferable skills were, but I did not have the right network or the right way of packaging it or pitching it for, jobs outside for other jobs.
Yeah.
And that being on the job and being able to demonstrate it where I'm already there and they can already see those skills in action was really critical, because I wasn't getting anywhere trying to find a job using those skills outside of where I was in that role. So, I mean, I'm very, I'm very glad that I asked. And I think that, partly it worked because, again, they could see the skills that were there. And they also knew that there were more senior people to me elsewhere on campus.
Yeah.
I could, check things with and learn from and collaborate with. And so if any anxieties they had, I don't know if they had them, but if they did about my, ability or my instincts or what I was proposing, other people could validate that. But yes, this is the right way to approach this.
Yeah. That mentorship right there. Like, I mean, that's gold. Like, to be able to reach out to someone who knows this, validate that, get their wisdom and advice, like on a silver platter, like right to you. So you can just, really knock it out of the park is like incredible. And I think right there, just being able to ask for help is also such a big component of changing careers. And because sometimes you just cannot do it without asking for that help. So you did it. So you're now moving forward in this. You have the mentors, you're getting the validation. You are just freaking rocking it. And so how does this play out over the next several years?
I was fortunate, in addition to all the reasons we just talked about, that around the time that this new institute was launched, and when I was put in charge of communications for that the researchers at UNC were part of a major HIV prevention study that had results that were so groundbreaking, so change making for the field, that the NIH, who was sponsoring it, said, we can't wait for the study to finish for you to say the results that you're finding. It will save lives. You have to put this out there. Yeah. And so I got to be part of the media team who was, again, talking to the New York Times, talking to every top tier paper is reaching out to talk to our people, because this is, practically front page news. It was the cover of The Economist magazine. It was Science Magazine's Breakthrough of the Year. And I'm so proud of the work that they did. And I'm so grateful that I was there at that time to get to be part of such a big story. And so I was able to, use that experience and that being involved in something that high profile and with that much media success to work my way up. And, I had often, I'm in Chapel Hill, North Carolina at the time, and I'd had my eye on DC for a long time, as a place I wanted to be. And, so I just started to applying for jobs there, and it's I applied for a lot before I, found something, but, got a job that was a step up and that got me into DC, and, just continued to build my skill set. There's an interesting experience, though, as someone who has the path that I had, because, I said, hey, coach, put me in, I can do this. But I had imposter syndrome for sure, because I didn't have the degree. I didn't follow the straight trajectory. And so I kept learning, of course, but I also got a great charge when I would show up in an environment, a learning event of some kind, and think, oh, I know this stuff already, and I do it. So that was validating that I did know how to do this job. Doesn't mean there's not things I can learn, but I needed those experiences multiple times to feel like I wasn't making it up as I go along anymore.
Right. And imposter syndrome is there's so much pressure with that can put you in analysis paralysis. It could just stop you in your tracks. So it sounds like you felt it And then, maybe you reached out and got that validation, and then you needed to do it a few more times until it was really feeling like the imposter syndrome was maybe taking a seat back. Is that right? Or
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
what else helped you kind of push through it? Because it's going to be there, but like, what other things, or if there was anything else, helped you kind of navigate that?
I think really just, work wins, big projects that went off well. Was able to have the opportunity to lead some big, like a brand refresh and some really big projects for an organization and have some good results from those. So I think just between building my network and those wins and those opportunities to kind of be reminded that I'm not an imposter. And I'm the only one who felt it. If I ever confessed it to somebody in my network who I'd worked with, they'd say, I would never thought that about you, and I never would have guessed that you feel that. So, fake it till you make it, I guess.
Yeah. Right. So you made it to DC and you moved up, and yeah, you made it happen in a way that maybe, when you were studying musicology, you never thought would have ever been your career path. And I'm curious, Lisa, if you were to look back and I don't know, offer some words of advice to your younger self who was in the middle of studying musicology, and when you had just made that decision to, to go that path, is there anything that you know now that you would have told yourself, that you would like to tell yourself, your younger version?
I think it would be two things that are kind of the push and the pull of it. One is you are smart and you're adaptable and you can do this. Like, you set your mind to it, you can do this. And if there's anything you know how to do, it's work hard and keep clawing at it. When I would have moments of doubt, even though I had also I was good at musicology. For a baby musicologist, I was good at it.
Yeah.
But the other piece would be trust your instincts and listen to your heart, because I probably would have left the program sooner. I don't know what path that would have put me on or where I would have ended up. I was trying to, I think, well, you committed to this, so do it, and also meet other people's expectations. Because there were people telling me how good I was at it and how I was going to contribute to the field and stuff. So, but just because they think that or say that doesn't mean I have to do it.
Right. Yeah.
So probably the biggest piece of advice would be to trust yourself and listen to that voice inside. And it's a voice I still struggle to listen to sometimes. Like the most recent transition that I made that we've alluded to, like that one required me to tune into that voice a lot.
So now share a little bit about that, because you've listened to that voice and you're a few months in, or maybe a few days shy of a few months, but like you're in it. So what was that? What led to that? And what exactly is it that keeps you doing this?
Yeah. So one of the things I've had to admit about myself or notice about myself is that I like variety. And
Feel that.
So, some people, I've been consistently working for mission-driven organizations throughout my career, but it's been in global health, it's been in international economic development, it's been in workforce development, it's been in community development finance, applying communication skills. So that's the through line, but different issues. And I can get passionate about, the more I learn about any issue, like I'm in it. Like I believe this is important to work on, and I'm charged by that. But then I also feel like, well, what's the next thing? Yeah. So, but I was kind of reaching a point where I wasn't exactly sure, okay, well, here's a different issue in the nonprofit sector, and it's a step up. So, this would be a logical step for your next job if you're ready to move on. And none of it it just didn't feel
Mm-hmm.
right. It wasn't sparking joy, as they say. Um, and I was thinking about that desire for variety and the idea of having different clients at one time. So you're doing different kinds of work at one time. And at the same time, I had met some new women in my professional world who had started their own businesses. And I don't know if it's something about when I met them and these jobs not sparking for me and being at the age that I am and just feeling like there was a weird entrepreneurial drive that I was feeling that is not normally who I am. I don't think of it as who I am. And, these women were really encouraging and connecting me with as many people as possible. And, as soon as I put it out in the world, I'm not just thinking about making this move. Like, I'm going to make this move. Do you know of anybody who needs work? Like now, not hypothetical work, but like actual work. And so, and the first person I said that out loud to said, yes, actually, let me connect you with this person. And that ended up becoming my first contract that allowed me to say, you know what, I'm gonna do this. And I had people say, you're probably going to have more work than you can handle in not much time. I was working with a coach at the time who also was saying that you're going to start with this and you can pay your bills with it. And then you're going to find in no time you have more work than you can take on. And people saying, you will say to yourself, I should have done this sooner. For all the reasons, like building your own thing, obviously you're supporting the client, but you're driving the bus. I call it a ship. I don't know, whatever, I'm in the driver's seat.
Yeah,
That's what
right. There you go. Yes.
And it hasn't even been 3 months, and it's true. Like it just feels good. It feels right. And I'm thinking I could have done this sooner.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. Do you find imposter syndrome creeps up at all throughout this part of your journey? Or is it pretty much just like, no, this is exactly what I'm supposed to do and I can do it?
There's a little bit of it around, and I know it's not about imposter syndrome. It's just a learning curve. Is how do you ask for what you're worth, right? When you're trying to, your rates, what's the right way to price this thing, the fixed price versus the hourly versus to make sure. So learning and trusting that I'm probably going to get some of these wrong. Like, oh, well, that took me way more time than I thought. And I charged them a fixed price. So my hourly rate ended up being very small, but I feel comfortable knowing that I've got a support network of people who know, have made the mistakes, have learned, and that I'm just going to make mistakes, and they're probably not going to be disastrous. They'll just be, well, yeah. Now I know if I'm asked to do a project like that this is how long it's going to take, and this is how I should structure it. But it feels a little bit weird to say. There's something about asking for a salary that's like a number versus saying, I am charging you this amount to do this.
Right.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And sometimes the imposter syndrome creeps in a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, that totally makes sense. But from your experience and learning on the job and learning from experience, it sounds like that is just kind of a part of this career path evolution for you. It's just like the more you do it, and actually we could check in like 6 months. I'd be curious. The more you do it, like, or is it just like, oh, it's not so weird anymore? Or there are different ways or what you've learned and that it's okay to just go into it and make some of these mistakes early on and learn from them and then move on. Like, I think that can be what holds people back sometimes. Like, oh, well, I don't know what to charge, so I'm not going to do anything at all. And it's like, oh, well, what if you just kind of start here and happens?
Yeah. Or what if you say that, what seems like, can I actually ask for that? You say that amount and you find out what they say. You hear what they say. I will say there are some people in my broader circle, very broader circle, all of them women who I think are underselling themselves. Even with my minimal knowledge, but of course I've hired consultants plenty of times. So, I'm aware. So, I don't know, maybe at some point my calling will be to make sure that women are asking for what they deserve. I know I wouldn't be the only voice in there. There's plenty of women who are doing that, but just want to make sure that, we're
Yeah.
getting what we deserve for the quality of work that we're doing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I can speak to that. That's so hard. And I know multiple times I just was willing to take less just to have something than to ask what I was worth. And even, give them the chance to say yes or no. And so, because it was just easier to do it. And so it's scary. So,
Mm-hmm.
but you're doing it, you're living it, and you're making it happen. And Lisa, like, your journey, like everything of where you are and where you're at now, like it's just, I feel like I just learned so much from you through this episode. And I want people to be able to connect with you and learn more about you. And who knows, hire you, work with you, all the things. So, Lisa, where can people find you? How can they connect with you?
Yeah. So the website for my new business is chensvoldcommunications.com. But you can also find me directly on LinkedIn under my name, my personal account, Lisa Chensvold. And those are the two best places to find me. And I'd love to talk about making a career flip, to talk about working together, anything.
Amazing. Lisa, thank you so much for sharing your journey here on the Career Flipper. I love that we talked so early on and now we're here and just hearing this journey. And I know that like this will not be the last time we talk. And I'm really, really excited for you. So thank you so much. I'm just honored to have you here.
Well, thank you so much for asking me. It's been a real pleasure.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Career Flipper podcast. To connect with Lisa, check out all the links in the show notes. If you loved this conversation or just made you feel a little more human in the middle of your own, what am I doing with my life spiral? Do me a quick favor, leave a review wherever you're listening. It helps more career flipping folks find the show and reminds me that this work matters, truly. Every word means the world. I read every single one of them. And if you're hosting an event or a gathering and you want someone to come speak about flipping careers, identity shifts, second chances, or just starting messy and scared, I would love to be part of it. Head over to thecareerflipper.com and drop me a note. And if you're super curious, when I'm not behind the mic, I'm probably in the garage rescuing a junk piece of furniture that I found on the curb. And if you want to see those makeovers and my dog Dwight supervising, come hang out with me over on Instagram at San Diego Furniture Flipper. Remember, you've got this. Every little step, even the weird, wobbly ones, is progress. So, what's the best that could happen?